Hey guys, this is Eric for Audioholics. I'm sure that you guys have just been inundated with lots of different Bluetooth headphone options. Since we've seen quite a few of the true wireless headphone variety, and since Apple, of course, has popularized the Airpods, there has been a flood of other manufacturers attempting to bring to market similar products that have a similar attributes to the AirPods. And AirPods, of course, not the only boy on the block. There are a lot of our big name manufacturers who are manufacturing what are called true wireless headphones. What makes them true wireless is the fact that generally they have two separate earpods or earpieces that have no wire between them and no wire to their case or to the phone. So they are independent in your ear and you have no wire at all. So almost all of these have a model number that says TW for true wireless. We're going to compare three budget-friendly true wireless headphones that retail anywhere in a range of about $50 to $70 and compare them to Apple's AirPods, which retail for $159.99, and that is the basic model with the lightning port adapter for charging. They also sell a $199.99 version of this, which will allow for wireless charging of the AirPod case. The first offering we have today is from Arylic, and Arylic offers an interesting compromise to the AirPods. But make no mistake, they're clearly different. They have a much bigger charging case. If you go to the website and look at Arylic, one of the things that they are trying to sell you on is low latency, with the idea that these can be used for playing video games as well as your standard kind of headphones for listening to music or for talking on the phone. They offer 4 microphones with some noise canceling, although in my usage on the phone, I can't say that they sounded any better or worse. The person I was speaking with didn't report any differences in sound quality. But the first thing I noticed with them is that their case is definitely plastic. It opens a little bit hard. I'd be very careful about the top. But the Arylic product itself, and this is true for everything we're going to look at, has a foam insert that goes into the ear. Now, the AirPods don't do that, and one of the things that all of these products share is this kind of foam or rubber insert that allows it to sit snugly in the ear. I found that AirPods fall out whenever I try and do anything active. Not one of these budget-friendly offerings was ever in any danger of falling out of my ears. And the Arylics were probably one of the more stable of the three. Now, one thing the AirPods do rather well is the AirPods can be used independently, which means I can listen to just the left or just the right. Now, one of the things that all of these manufacturers tend to use to their advantage is their battery life. Be careful. Battery life isn't always because you're listening to both of the pods or both of the stereo sound. Sometimes they're reporting battery life that's based on listening to only one at a time. Now, all of these offerings will allow you to listen to just one side at a time. And the Arylics are actually quite nice in that they will channel all of the audio to the left or all of the audio to the right, as opposed to most of the other offerings here, which will only let you listen to the sound from the left speaker or the sound from the right speaker when listening to just one of the headphones. So if you put just the left in, you get all of the sound. It's mono, but at least you're getting all of the sound, where often when I'm listening to one of the others in just my left ear, I only hear what's being played through the left speaker. So when you put the Arylics in, there is an audio prompt that tells you that you only have one in, and when you put the second one in, it tells you that it's splitting the sound and going to stereo mode. So that's one thing that the Arylics offer that nobody else here in this class, especially at this price, offers. These are the Arylic M500s, and on their website they retail for $99, but you can currently get them on sale for $45, which is incredibly budget friendly for what you're going to get out of this product. Now, at the same time, the Avantree sell a similar product. This is the Avantree TWS120s, and they, of course, come in a slightly smaller charging case, noticeably smaller, but they have a very similar construction. Again, they have the kind of the rubber or foam insert for the ear. They are almost unshakable in the ear as well. But one of the biggest differences between the two products is that in practice, I noticed often that there was not consistent volume between both the right and left headset, with the right headset being predominantly louder in quiet listening conditions. Now, in active conditions, I couldn't tell, But in those quieter listening conditions, I definitely could tell the difference. But this product offers many of the same types of things that the Arylic does. Independent listening, which means, again, you can listen to one or the other. The ability to switch from one to the other or put both in, and it will allow you to hear stereo. Now, with these, you put the left in, you're just getting the left sound. You put the right in, you're just getting the right sound. But the case is smaller, it feels a little more solidly built, and one of the things both of them share is a micro USB connector. But, and this is one thing that is kind of interesting, the Arylic also allows you to use it as a backup battery, meaning you can plug a standard USB connection into this and charge your phone or charge a secondary device off the battery that's in the Arylic. And none of the other products in this market or that we're talking about today have that functionality built in. The Avantree is the most expensive of these budget friendlies, but it's still only coming in at $70. So for 70 bucks, not bad. And I do want to also point out one thing about them is that they represent the smallest of all of these packages, which we're now going to compare to the Earfuns or the Earfun Airs, which are attempting to mimic the product, the AirPod, as closely as any of these devices. So the Earfun Airs, or their model number is actually the TW200, again, true wireless 200, have the same kind of opening and case that you would see with the AirPods, with one major difference. Again, it's a little bit thicker, and that's to accommodate, again, the rubber insert that goes into the ear, but also to accommodate a slightly larger battery. And something that none of these products have, their case is already wirelessly charging compatible. And at a price point of $60, the Earfun is the only product in this type of budget where you can just place this right on a charging pad and it'll charge the case and the earphones inside at that kind of price point. I mean, it almost costs as much to buy all of this as it does to buy just the charging case, the wireless charging case for the AirPods. So for that price point, that's something else, $60. Now, the Earfuns have something that I do want to say is my favorite thing about all of these products, and that is they do something that also is done by the AirPods, in that their charging points, the metallic points that have to be in contact in order for it to charge, are at the bottom of the stem. And although you might not understand why that's important, the other two products in this market have their charging points someplace different. Here they're on the actual part that gets set into the ear, and the Avantrees have theirs on the side of the stem. In both of those products, that means that the metallic charging points are going to be against your skin. As a runner and as a biker and a person who exercises with headphones all of the time, I can tell you that those contacts are going to corrode over time due to your sweat. And although all of these have a certain amount of waterproof rating or sweat-proof rating, I can't tell you how quickly those will begin to corrode. The Earfuns putting them at the bottom are doing the same thing that the AirPod does. They put them at the bottom. And the advantage of putting it at the bottom is that this is away from the skin. And because of that, they're not going to be in contact with your skin when you're sweating or when you're out working in the yard or anything like that, which is going to make those contacts last longer and give you a little bit more longevity out of the product. Now, in order to understand how I tested these, I used them the way I would use my AirPods and the way I would use my other exercising headphones. I bike with them for at least an hour. I ran with them for at least an hour. I did yard work or other housework outside for 45 minutes to an hour with each. I made at least 1 or 2 phone calls with each, and then I also had some quiet time sitting in a quiet room comparing each one to the same tracks of music to see how they would sound individually in a quiet environment. And there is a couple of things here that need to be pointed out from the beginning. All of them have a certain amount of background hiss and pop that you're going to hear when you first connect them. And it is most pronounced on the Avantree, in that when I first connect them, I hear a lot of hiss and pop or noise in the background before the music starts to play. All of these do that to a certain point, except the AirPods, which are very, very quiet. The loudest hiss was from the Earfuns. So when I started playing a track, you hear hiss almost immediately out of the Earfuns, but all of them had a certain amount of hiss or static in the background before any music was played. Now, this is not unusual. All Bluetooth headphones tend to save power by turning on and off, and they will turn our connection on and you tend to hear it turn on, and they'll turn their connection off. This is something that the AirPods don't do as much because they have a bit of a proprietary connection, at least to an iPhone. I tested all of mine through an iPhone and a computer so that they had something similar, but that's the product that I tested and I used for music. I used both Apple Music and Spotify, but I also used 2 different podcasting platforms for listening to podcasts. For all of them, they made a clean, crisp listening environment for a podcast. Never once did I feel like I had to back up to hear something over again, and I felt that at moderate listening levels, the voice was clear and the sound was precise. So I could not pick out one over the other for podcast listening. I did also listen to an audio book, which I figure is similar in nature to a podcast, but it's not a conversation. And the audiobook was crisp and clear the entire time, and none of these had a standout moment, but all of them were as good, or in some cases better, than the AirPods. The Arylic and the Earfuns tended to boost voice enough to make better listening for podcasts than the Avantree or the Apple Airpods. In fact, I would listen to a podcast on the Arylics over and over again because I felt the voices sounded nice and clear. Now, under quieter conditions, and those conditions were in a quiet room with no foot traffic, I used Spotify specifically for this with equalization turned off so that I was getting a flat response for the songs that I chose. I chose 3 different songs, one a pop song, one a jazz song, and then an old Beatles song. The first thing I need to tell you is that the Avantree and the Apple Airpods sounded very similar under those circumstances. They had a very flat response. Now, the Apple Airpods did produce the instruments better under those circumstances. It was noticeable that the Arylics and the Earfuns have some equalization going on. They're pumping up the bass, and they're definitely pumping up the mid-range where the vocals are, which was clearly noticeable on all 3 of the tracks. And even though I set the equalization to be flat from Spotify, it was clear that Earfun wants you to hear more of the mid-range and Arylic wants you to hear some bass. Now, that's not necessarily bad if it suits your taste. And of course, with Spotify, you could modify the equalization to your liking. But if you want a more flat response, you're not going to get it straight out of the box. At the same time, Earfun and Arylic both had exceptional highs and enough in the bottom end to make you hear both the bass guitar and the bass drum separately. And there was no mush, they were clear. The Avantree, I really can't say that about. The bass was very, very mushy, and that was when it was present. The highs, okay, they weren't bad. Now, when you compare this to the Apple AirPods, that's a little bit different. The AirPods do sound very, very clean across the whole frequency spectrum, but at the same time, they are missing some bass. And that's pretty clear when you're comparing these songs in a nice, quiet environment. Now, I don't want to say that these are the same as the AirPods, because that is missing something about the AirPods that's important. The budget-friendly devices do a great job when connected one-on-one with your phone or one-on-one with your computer or perhaps your gaming machine or whatever it is you're going to use that product for. But if you're trying to switch from one machine to the next, if you're going to go from your phone to a tablet or your phone to a computer, it's important to understand that this is kind of where the AirPods shine. The AirPods do a great job of allowing you to go almost without doing anything from one device to the next to the next. Now, this is because they are using proprietary and closed software. They have control over all of these devices and the software that powers it. But if you want to take the Arylics and stop listening on one device and start listening on the other, you're going to find some connection issues from time to time. I had connection issues with all of these, both not detecting the new device and having to be repaired, or having to be put back in their case, shut down, wait a minute for them to finally drop their connection, and then bring them back up to connect to the new device. So there is something that you are getting for your money here, and the idea that you can start a phone call on your phone and transfer it to your tablet or transfer it to your computer without having to do anything, there is something that's kind of nice about that. Lastly, one of the things I need to point out is that all of these devices attempt to give you some control over playback or talking to your assistant or control of a phone call by tapping the device. Although they all advertise that they can do it, I found in practice that they were less able to be successful and consistent. My expectation is that if they are to be double tapped, then every time I double tap, I should get the same response. With the AirPods, you can set what it does for single and double tap independently for the left and the right ear. Although they all claim to have some level of ability to do that, in practice, I found it very difficult to manage with these budget-friendly devices. Either you had no selections at all or they operated inconsistently. Now, that's not terrible because generally I'm not sure that many of us use that very often, but I do need to point that out. In the end, I do want to say that the Earfuns and the Arylic stayed in my ear under very tense circumstances, meaning shaking my head, jumping around, trying desperately to get them to leave my ears. I could not get the two of them to leave my ears. Although they all also claim that they have some level of waterproofing. The Arylics claim IP7, which means 1 meter under the water for 30 minutes. The Avantree, I got stuck in a rainstorm and they were soaked and they did just fine. In fact, they never stopped playing. I just took them out, shook them, put them back in my ears and kept on going once the rain subsided. I don't think I would try that with the AirPods. Although they claim to have sweat resistance, the fact that some of these are IPX7 rated, that's significant. All right, so in wrap up, the AirPods with the regular wired charging case, they retail for $159. Of course, you can spring for an extra $40 to get the wireless charging case for $199. At the same time, the Avantree, this is the TWS120s, they retail for $70. The Earfuns, which come with their own wireless charging case as a standard model, they retail for $60, and these are the TW200s or the Earfun Airs. And lastly, the Arylics at $45. It's a great deal, and that's a good starting price for any of these. I mean, you can buy two of these and keep one, and keep a spare around. But again, retail for $45 right now on sale, but they do say their suggested retail price is $99. If you like this video, please make sure you give us a thumbs up, and of course keep listening and subscribe to our channel here. But if you also want to join the conversation, please leave us a comment down below and check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/audioholics. This has been Eric Shelton for Audioholics. Keep listening.